everyone, good morning and welcome to Drishti IAS and myself Girish Venkatesh, and I'm teaching you for this paper 2, that is political science, and this is a live class on the Drishti learning app. So welcome everyone. So yesterday we had a short interaction session, or you can say a orientation session, and I did make you familiar with the syllabus out there, and we did discuss certain strategies with regard to the preparation for UGC-NET GRF, that too for paper 2 political science. And I said you that there are 10 units which we have to do. That means this entire course has to cover 10 units. And I did also say one more thing, was that if you are doing your UGC-NET preparation, then whatever is the syllabus for the UGC-NET, the same syllabus comes to with regard to, you can say near about, I can say 90% of the syllabus is the same when it comes to PSIR for UPSC. That's the optional subject, political science and international relations. So we had 10 units, we discussed about those 10 units. I'm not going to start as usual with unit 1 or with unit 2 and all. But as I said you yesterday, we are going to start with unit 5. Now what is that unit 5? Unit 5 is all about, you can say, let me show you that unit 5. Unit 5 is all about international relations. So here you can see unit 5 is all about international relations. We have to start a discussion with the approaches. But what I'll do is that before going into the approaches, I will move into the very important, you can say, the meaning, the nature and the scope of international relations. Then after that, when we cover up the meaning, the scope and the nature of international relations, then after that we'll be moving into the approaches one by one. In your syllabus, the first approach is idealism, that is liberalism. Then comes the realism and all. So we'll go on with the approaches one by one, not in a chronological order as per your syllabus, but whatever comes into my mind, I'll tell you that. Like for example, realism se bhi start kar sakte. Now you people must be thinking ki why not start with the approaches? Why to do nature, significance, or nature, scope, meaning of international relations? Dekho, if I go with the introduction with regard to international relations, then the literal meaning, agar literal meaning international relations ka bolo, ya literally international relations, it refers to the interrelationship of states and non-state actors. So international relations क्या है? उसका literal meaning ये है. Its literal meaning is that it's an interrelationship. Interrelationship between what? Interrelationship between the state and the non-state actors. Because we are the students of political science, we have done our graduations and we have done our MAs and all. So we should know what are the state and the non-state actors as such. So briefly, I can say you that the interaction between the state and the non-state actors is referred as international relations. And international relations, what happened? How was it created? Now, when I say interrelationship between state and non-state actors, इसका मतलब there is an interdependence between the states. That means the states, they are interdependent upon each other. For various reasons, they are interdependent. Now, this interdependence of states, it created international relations. That means, what was the interdependence between the states? The interdependence was with regard to having peace with the other state. The interdependence was with regard to getting resources from the other state. The interdependence was with regard to trade relations with other states. So there is no end to the interrelationship or interdependence. Now this interdependence between the states, and when I say states, then I am referring to the modern states. Because international relations, it's not, you can say, it's not a very old concept. It's something which is of recent origin, you can say it. And when I say it's something of recent origin, then I should say you that international relations, it's an academic discipline. Academic discipline means it's a discipline where, discipline ka matlab, it's an academic thing where we try to study. ठीक है? So, जब हम international relations की बात आ रहे हैं, तो I said you that this international relations, it was created because of the interrelationship and interdependence between the states. And then I said you that this international relations, it's an academic discipline and it's of recent origin. So when I say recent origin, then here the states which I'm mentioning, it's nothing else but it's the modern states. And if you want to go further, when I say that it's recent origin, तो बोला जाता है international relations, it emerged at the beginning of the 20th century. Emerged at the beginning of the 20th century, like about 1930s and all. That's when international relations started. So it's of recent origin and it emerged at the beginning of the 20th century. But when we, beginning of the 20th century mein aaya, but when we talk it as a practice, then as a practice we can say that since the existence of the city states, अब आप बोलोगे existence of the city states क्या कब हुआ? Existence of the city states, what do you remember? The Treaty of Westphalia. Now this Treaty of Westphalia was in 1648. And with this Treaty of Westphalia, we can say that there was the development of modern city states. So it was this time when the practice of international relations it started. And one thing very, very important from your exam point of view, I should say, the term international relations, it was coined by none other than Jeremy Bentham. So it's Jeremy Bentham who coined this word, coined this term international relations, और कब coin किया? 1789. And in 1789, in one of his book, which was referred as Principles of Morals and Legislation. तो इस प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ मॉरल्स एंड लेजिस्लेशन में जेरेमी बेंथाम ने व्हाट ही डिड, ही कॉइन्ड द टर्म इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस. ठीक है. एंड वी कैन ऑल्सो से दैट इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस, yes, when we talk about political science, तो हम लोग को लगता है we say political science and IR. So international relations, it is studied as a subpart of political science, or you can say that it is studied as an independent discipline. मैंने आपको पहले शुरू में क्या कहा था? Optional subject is what? It's PSIR. So PS and IR. So we can say that political science का ये एक बोला जा सकता है, it's a subfield of political science. That means it can be studied either as a subfield of political science or it can be studied as an independent discipline or independent subject. So let's write it down, the introduction जो अभी मैंने आपके सामने में पुट अप किया, because as I said you in the first orientation, or you can say first interaction class, that I will be writing things. I don't feel tired when I write things. Teaching is my passion, and the energy with which I have started this class, the energy with that, the same energy is with which I will be ending the class also. So throughout the 2 hours, my energy will be the same. So that's what I want from you people also. Then only things will click. Then only you will be able to prepare for your UGC-NET. And we all know that cracking the UGC-NET paper, it's going to lead to you a very bright future. है ना? तो आप सबको, as I said you have to make a register, and that register you have to write things. So today our discussion is all about meaning, nature and scope. Write it down. It's meaning, nature and scope of international relations. ये जानना जरूरी है कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस, अच्छा इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस और इंटरनेशनल पॉलिटिक्स में भी डिफरेंस है, वो भी आज हम डिस्कस करेंगे यहां पे. सो यू हैव टू नो द मीनिंग, नेचर एंड स्कोप ऑफ इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस. द टॉपिक फॉर टुडे इज दिस. लिख लिया सबने? मीनिंग, स्कोप एंड मतलब मीनिंग, नेचर एंड स्कोप ऑफ इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस. तो इसी में लेट्स गो विद द इंट्रोडक्शन पार्ट. I hope this screen is visible to you, and the colors by which I will be writing, that I would use those colors which are quite visible to you, easily visible to you. तो आप लोगों के लिए कोई दिक्कत नहीं आएगा. And one more thing I said you, that you can put up your doubts whenever you can, but at present we don't have that live chat option going on. Otherwise we have in the class the live chat option. So the students who are attending this live class on Drishti Learning app, each one of you will be having the live chat option. So whenever a doubt props up in your mind, you can just simply write that doubt in the live chat and you can send it. So I can look at it and I can clear the doubt then and there. So that means abhi it will take 2 or 3 days, or this weekend. By this weekend the live chat will be working, because as I had said you yesterday, we have some technological upgradations going on. ठीक है? So please bear with that inconvenience. So we are, मतलब आप लोगों को थोड़ा सा ये इनकन्वीनियंस को फिलहाल इस वीक के लिए बेयर करना पड़ेगा और अपने डाउट्स को लिख के रखना पड़ेगा. बट बाकी मैं पूरी कोशिश करूंगा कि देयर विल बी नो डाउट्स फ्रॉम योर साइड. मैं अपने चीजों को बहुत प्रॉपरली समझाने की कोशिश करता हूं. एंड यस, I said you 90% English and there will be 10% somewhat of Hindi also, ताकि चीजों को थोड़ा सा एक नया रूप दिया जाए. Okay, so let's go with the introduction. So first point I did say you that international relations, introduction में when I will say international relations I'll write IR, because पूरा बड़ा लिखने से it's a wastage of time. ठीक है? IR literally refers to the interrelationship between states, या interrelationship of states and non-states actors. पहली बात तो ये है. सेकेंड बात, the interdependence of states created international relations. मतलब ये जो इंटरडिपेंडेंस थे स्टेट्स का, this created international relations as an academic discipline. International relations is of recent origin. ठीक है? It's of recent origin. It emerged at the beginning of 20th century. So we can say it emerged at the beginning of 20th century. But its practice started with the development of modern city-states. With the development of modern city-states. ठीक है? Development of modern city-states by the Treaty of Westphalia. ठीक है, मॉडर्न सिटी स्टेट्स by the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. Write it down. ठीक है, नाउ दिस ट्रीटी ऑफ वेस्टफेलिया अगर आपको थोड़ा सा याद हो, then this treaty of Westphalia, it's very important. Why? Because it was a peace treaty. You can say that it brought peace. This was a peace treaty which was signed in 1648. And we can say that this peace treaty, it brought to an end a 30-year long war. ठीक है, ये पीस ट्रीटी जो है, इट ब्रॉट टू एन एंड अ 30-year long war. 30-year long war मतलब 1648 ना, इसमें से 30 आगे चले जाओ, then 1618 से 1648 there was a 30-year long war which was going in the Holy Roman Empire. ठीक है, अगर हम बोल सकते हैं तो ये ट्रीटी ऑफ वेस्टफेलिया के बारे में बता रहा हूं, दैट दिस, ये मैं ट्रीटी ऑफ वेस्टफेलिया आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट, दिस इज अ पीस ट्रीटी साइंड इन 1648. ठीक है, साइंड इन 1648. जर्मनी के दो वेस्टफेलियन सिटीज थे, ठीक है, उसके बीच में यह हुआ था. ठीक है, एंड दिस ट्रीटी ब्रॉट एन एंड टू द 30-year old war. 30-year war brought an end to the 30-year war जो कि 1618 से लेकर 1648, 1618 to 1648. ठीक है, दिस ट्रीटी ब्रॉट एन एंड टू द 30-year war in the Holy Roman Empire. ठीक है, and also you can say and also an end to the 8-year war between Spain and Dutch Republic. ठीक है, स्पेन एंड डच रिपब्लिक. ठीक है, सो दिस इज व्हाट इज देयर. इट्स 80, सॉरी 80 है, ये 80 है, 80. So we can say that this particular international relations, yes, it's of recent origin, but in practice, we can say it's since 1648. And what is the significance of this year 1648? Because in this year 1648, the Treaty of Westphalia, it happened, and this treaty, it brought an end to two wars. One is the 30-year war in the, you can say, Holy Roman Empire, and the 80-year war between Spain and the Dutch Republic. So that's why we can say that even though it's a concept which is with regard to the new origin, but it has been in practice since the emergence or since the development of modern states. और हमें पता रहना चाहिए कि this Treaty of Westphalia, it was this time when the development of modern states took place. ठीक है? So ये Treaty of Westphalia इस इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस के लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. ठीक है? और आपको पता रहना चाहिए ये ट्रीटी ऑफ वेस्टफेलिया में ये जो होली रोमन एम्पायर है उसके जो राजा थे उस समय, his name was Ferdinand III. He played a very big role in that. ठीक है? Got it? तो ये आपने लिख लिया. ठीक है? So overall, I said you IR literally refers to what? Interrelationship between state and non-state actors. So the interdependence of state, it created what? IR. As an academic discipline, IR is of recent origin. That is the beginning of the 20th century. 20th century means somewhat like 1930s and all. और 1930s क्यों famous है भाई? Because that was the time when the Second World War had started, or the Second World War was going to start. ठीक है? So, but when we talk about practice, then its practice started with the development of modern city-states by the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. लिख लिया सबने? Very good. Now next thing, I said you that the term international relations, the term international relations coined by, किसने इसको coin किया था? Term international relations. It was coined by Jeremy Bentham. ठीक है? Coined by Jeremy Bentham in 1789. French Revolution. याद रखो, 1789 is the time when the French Revolution happened. The Battle of Bastille इसी समय हुआ था ना? French Revolution 1789. So Jeremy Bentham in 1789 he coined the term international relations, and that too in his book what was the name of the book? Principles of Morals and Legislation. The name of the book is Principles of Morals एंड लेजिस्लेशन। ये बहुत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है फॉर योर एमसीक्यूज। ठीक है, सो दिस टर्म it's coined by whom? It's coined by none other than Jeremy Bentham, and that too in 1789, and in his book The Principle of Morals and Legislation. ठीक है, got it? Now, next is with international relations. अब हम सबको पता है कि international relations, as I said you, it's studied as a subfield. I said you, IR is studied as a subfield of political science. ठीक है, IR it's studied as a subfield of political science or as an ठीक है, या तो उसको सबफील्ड ऑफ पॉलिटिकल साइंस बोला जाता है और इट्स स्टडीड एज अ इंडिपेंडेंट सब्जेक्ट और इंडिपेंडेंट डिसिप्लिन. So this is something introduction to which I was trying to talk with you, या I was trying to discuss with you. अब अगर डेफिनेशन पे आते हैं, then definition of Morgenthau, H.J. Morgenthau, everyone is मतलब familiar with this word, with this name Morgenthau. Now H.J. Morgan, अब हम रियलिज्म में भी मॉर्गनथाउ के बारे में पढ़ेंगे. मॉर्गनथाउ ने 6 प्रिंसिपल्स दिए हैं अपने रियलिज्म में. So H.J. Morgenthau, he defines, you can say, international relations, and he says it includes analysis of political relations, it includes problems of peace among nations, and it's a struggle for and use of political power among nations. ठीक है, तो ये यहां पे आप मीनिंग में लिख लो, मीनिंग ऑफ IR. ठीक है, मीनिंग ऑफ IR में H.J. Morgenthau. ठीक है, H.J. Morgenthau. Now what he says? He says IR includes analysis of political relations and problems of peace among nations. According to him, it is struggle for and use of power. It is struggle for and use of power between या among nations. This is the definition which Morgenthau gives with regard to international relations, या उसको international politics भी आप यहाँ पे इसको कह सकते हो. This is the definition which Morgenthau gives. ठीक है. Got it? देखो आप इसका डेफिनेशन एनसाइक्लोपीडिया ब्रिटानिका का भी यूज कर सकते हो कि एनसाइक्लोपीडिया ब्रिटानिका बोलता है कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस इज द स्टडी ऑफ रिलेशंस ऑफ स्टेट्स विथ ईच अदर and with international organizations and certain subnational entities. मतलब this is a definition given by Encyclopedia Britannica. Encyclopedia Britannica क्या बोलता है भाई about IR? IR involves the study of states the relations of states with each other and with international organizations and with some subnational entities. मतलब IR जो है subnational entities का मतलब हो गया जैसे ASEAN and all, European Union and all. ठीक है. So Encyclopedia Britannica says international relations, it's nothing else but it is the study of relation of states with each other and also with the international organizations and with certain subnational entities. तब ओवरऑल हम क्या बोल सकते हैं? तो ओवरऑल हम यही कंक्लूड कर सकते हैं अगर डेफिनेशन वाइज कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस इट डील्स विद द स्टडी ऑफ रिलेशन अमंग वेरियस स्टेट्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. मतलब इट डील्स विद द स्टडी ऑफ रिलेशन अमंग वेरियस स्टेट्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड प्लस अमंग नॉन स्टेट्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, अमंग इंटरनेशनल organizations, about war and peace, about disarmament, about alliance formation, about terrorism and whole international system. तो ओवरऑल डेफिनेशन आप इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस का आपको बहुत सारे जगह बहुत डेफिनेशंस आपको मिल सकते हैं. सो वी शुड नॉट गो विथ रिगार्ड टू दैट मेनी डेफिनेशन. ठीक है. But let's now difference between international politics and international relations. Now we should have a difference between international politics as well as international relations. International politics और इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस के बीच में डिफरेंस होता है और हम में से बहुत लोग उस डिफरेंस को अवॉइड करते हैं. वी डोंट ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड थिंग्स. हमको लगता है कि दोनों सेम चीज है. नहीं. इफ यू गो बाय द स्कोप, देन इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस इट्स मच वाइडर इन स्कोप. क्यों? बिकॉज इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस इट डील्स विद political, non-political, social, economical, cultural, legal, government, non-governmental relations. जबकि international politics, it's only concerned with the struggle for power. तो अगर स्कोप की बात करोगे तो international relations has a wider scope as compared to international politics. ठीक है? So the first difference which comes to our mind is difference in scope. Write it down. Difference in scope. तो इसमें लिख सकते हो इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन हैज अ वाइडर स्कोप, दैट इज इट इंक्लूड्स पॉलिटिकल, सोशल, इकोनॉमिक, कल्चरल, legal, legal, governmental and non political, social, cultural, legal, governmental, non-governmental, non-political relations. मतलब IR जो है, it talks about relations. That is political. Relations with respect to what? Relations with respect to political, non-political, social, economic, cultural, governmental, non-governmental, legal. तो हम बोल सकते हैं इस सब पे. Whereas international politics is only concerned, international politics is only concerned with the struggle for power. ठीक है? So IR it has a wider scope. क्यों wider scope है? It includes all this. ये सारा चीजों को IR इंक्लूड करता है. Whereas international politics यहां पे वर्ड ओनली होना चाहिए. Whereas international politics only concerned, only struggle for power. Got it? The first difference. Now, the second difference comes with regard to aim. You must all understand that the ultimate aim of international relations is what? The ultimate aim of international relations in today's 20th century or 21st century, it's nothing else but the establishment of international peace through cooperation and agreement. Establishment of international peace through cooperation and agreement. ये है ultimate aim with regard to international relations. But when it comes to international politics, then in international politics, the ultimate aim is what? Struggle for power. So when the ultimate aim becomes struggle for power, then everyone is trying to become powerful. That means the aim is to become powerful, to struggle for power, and this struggle for power is through conflicts, wars among the different nations and all. तो मतलब इंटरनेशनल पॉलिटिक्स का अल्टीमेट एम क्या हो गया? It's nothing else but it is becoming powerful, and becoming powerful by struggling for power, and that struggle for power is through conflicts and wars between the nations. तो अब आप इसमें भी तो डिफरेंस देख सकते हो, ठीक है? So the second one is, you can write it down. The second one is difference in aim. Difference in aim. लिख लो. The aim of international relation is the establishment of international peace, is the establishment of international peace through cooperation and agreement. Through cooperation and agreement. और वही तुम्हारा the aim of international politics, IP, international politics, is becoming powerful, becoming powerful by struggle of power through wars and conflicts between nations. ठीक है? So this is what is the difference in aim. That is, the aim of IR is establishment of international peace through cooperation and agreement. और वही अगर हम बात करें aim of IP, then aim of IP is what? Becoming powerful. International politics का aim क्या है? कि the nations want to become powerful. And how they want to become powerful? By struggle for power. And how do they do the struggle? Through wild wars and conflicts between the nations. ठीक है? Clear है? And the last one comes with regard to the usage. Now, international relations, its usage is you can say international, everyone uses it. But when I say international politics, it was used by the European nations. International politics, it was used by the European nations. क्यों बोलूं? It was used by the European scholars. And when they used this, when they were dominating the scene, and you can say everything was focused on European politics only. तो यहां पे हम बोल सकते हैं थर्ड वन इज यूरोसेंट्रिक. थर्ड वन, it's Eurocentric. Eurocentric का मतलब international politics is used by European scholars. International politics was used by was used by European scholars. ठीक है, European scholars when they dominated the scene and focused on European politics only. जबकि international politics, it's used by every scholar. IR is used by scholars worldwide. ठीक है, तो यहां पे हम बोल सकते हैं इकोसेंट्रिक है. क्यों? इंटरनेशनल पॉलिटिक्स ओनली यूज्ड बाय यूरोपियन स्कॉलर्स, बट IR इट्स यूज्ड बाय स्कॉलर्स वर्ल्ड वाइड. ठीक है, डिफरेंस सबको समझ में आ गया? I guess there is no doubts. ठीक है, so this is what is with regard to difference between international politics and international relations. ठीक है, clear है? Very good. Now let's go with the nature of IR. अब तक हम लोगों ने क्या किया? अब तक हम लोगों ने थोड़ा सा इंट्रोडक्शन किया. वी केम अप विद द मीनिंग. ठीक है, एंड देन वी टॉक्ड अबाउट, वी डिस्कस्ड अबाउट द डिफरेंस बिटवीन इंटरनेशनल ठीक है. अब आ जाओ नेचर. नेचर ऑफ इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस. देखो, I would request everyone in this class that you should write down each and everything which I am writing. और जब yesterday also we had a discussion that I am writing the things, you should also write it. The benefit of it will be that most of the things you will be remembering. क्योंकि जब हम अपने हाथों से चीजों को लिखते हैं तो हम ज्यादा अच्छी तरह उसको समझते हैं. Second thing is that you have a plus point that you can watch this recording n number of times. The third thing you have to do is that when you are preparing for this part, किसी भी पार्ट को कमजोर नहीं समझना. मैंने आपको बोला था I could have started with approaches, but I said no, I'll start with the main basic thing. मुझे पता है आप लोगों को पता है ये बेसिक्स, बट ऐसे भी बहुत सारे बच्चे थे जिनको ये नहीं पता था इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस का टर्म को कॉइन जेरेमी बेंथम ने किया है. और किस बुक में किया है? प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ मॉरल्स एंड लेजिस्लेशन. कब किया है? 1789. And when was this international relations come into practice? The Treaty of Westphalia, 1648. ये Treaty of Westphalia इतना important क्यों है? Because it is this Treaty of Westphalia, it's basically a peace treaty at that time. And this peace treaty, it brought two wars to an end, a 30-year-old war and an 80-year war. 80-year war which was between Spain and the Dutch Republic, and 30-year war which was there in the, you can say, Greek Empire. तो ये चीजें थोड़ा सा हमें डिस्कशन करने से पता चला. प्लस जब आप पढ़ोगे तो आई हैव सेड यू यस्टरडे ऑल्सो दैट टेक आउट द बुक विच यू हैव, उसमें से पढ़ो चीजों. आपने ऑलरेडी ये चीजें पढ़ी होंगी अपने मास्टर्स में और ग्रेजुएशंस में, बट स्टिल यू हैव टू गो विथ इट. ठीक है, चलो लेट्स गो विथ द नेचर. सबसे पहला नेचर इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस का क्या बोलता है? First, I'll write it the points and then we'll discuss. First, nation as primary actor of IR. Nation as primary actors. नेशंस जब बुलाऊं तो या एक्टर्स लग जाए. नेशंस एज प्राइमरी एक्टर्स ऑफ आईआर. नेशंस का मतलब क्या हो गया? द मॉडर्न सिटी स्टेट्स, द मॉडर्न नेशन स्टेट्स. दीज मॉडर्न नेशन स्टेट्स they are the key actors. ठीक है? Yes, along with these nation states there are other actors also जिसको हम लोग non state actors बोलते हैं. But when we talk about international relations, तो अगर आप एनसाइक्लोपीडिया ब्रिटानिका का डेफिनेशन करोगे या अब कोई भी डेफिनेशन आप पढ़ोगे तो उसमें वो बोलता है कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस, इट टॉक्स अबाउट द रिलेशंस बिटवीन द स्टेट्स. States in the sense between the nation states, and that too the modern nation states. So in international relations, the primary actors are the nations, and apart from nations there are non-state actors also. They also play an important role. तभी तो मैंने first sentence जब हमने बोला, then I said you that international relations literally refers to the interrelationship between state and non-state actors. So that means who are the primary actors? The primary actors are the nations. ये पहला पॉइंट है. I need not write anything with regard to it. आपको समझ में आ गया ये पॉइंट. So let's go with the second point. The second point is what? National interest as its objective. National interest as its objective. That means in international relations, when the nations, they are playing a very key role, then for each nation, their security, or you can say for each nation, they try to secure more with regard to their interest. मतलब वो क्यों अटेम्प्ट करते हैं टू हैव अ रिलेशन विथ अदर्स? दे try to have relations with others because it favors their national interest. अगर आज इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में today India is standing with US, today India is standing with Japan, today India is standing with Australia, then there is a interest, national interest. Because जो इंडो पैसिफिक रीजन है वहां पे चाइना का मूवमेंट ज्यादा हो रहा है. एज अ रिजल्ट इंडिया एक क्वाड बनाकर वहां पे काम करना स्टार्ट किया. सो व्हाई इज दिस इंटरैक्शन टेकिंग प्लेस? The interaction is taking place because every nation, they have their own national interest. So for them, their national interest is supreme. For them, their national interest is the only objective. And to secure that national interest, they can come in relation with any of the country, any of the nation. ठीक है. और नेशनल, और बोला जाता है कि ये जो नेशनल इंटरेस्ट है, व्हेन अ नेशन ट्राइज टू सिक्योर इट्स नेशनल इंटरेस्ट, इट कैन बी थ्रू कंट्रोल, इट कैन बी थ्रू, यू कैन से, कॉपरेशन. बट यस, इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में नेशनल इंटरेस्ट एज इट्स ऑब्जेक्टिव. Third, power as its means. जब ऑब्जेक्टिव नेशनल इंटरेस्ट है तो पावर क्या है? पावर इज द मीन्स. दैट मीन्स what is the objective of every nation? The objective of every nation is to secure its national interest or to achieve the goals of the national interest. But how are they going to achieve the goals of the national interest? They are going to achieve the goals of the national interest by using control over other nations. Control over other nations से कैसे कर रहे हैं? Using power. That means here power is the means. Power is the means to achieve the national objective या national interest. ठीक है, समझ में आ गया. सो इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस का थर्ड है कि पावर एज द मीन्स. पावर एज द मीन्स. और ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है? नेशनल इंटरेस्ट. और पावर एज द मीन्स मैंने आपको समझा दिया कि ईच नेशन दे एम टू अचीव देयर गोल्स ऑफ नेशनल इंटरेस्ट एंड द मीन्स ऑफ अचीविंग इट इज थ्रू पावर. मतलब वो तो कंट्रोल करेगा ना. इट विल ट्राई टू कंट्रोल द अदर नेशन, देन ओनली अपना नेशनल इंटरेस्ट पूरा करेगा. ठीक है. आप सोचो इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन के समय में, एट द टाइम ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन the European powers, they had overproduction and there was surplus left with them, but they did not have any, you can say, because all the European nations, they were becoming industrialized, so they could not sell their things to each other. So what was their national interest? Their national interest was to sell the surplus goods which their industries were producing. So what they did, they started the voyages. They started to find new areas where they could sell their surplus goods. And when they found that areas in Asia, Africa and Latin America, then what they did, they started controlling these areas. And to control these areas, they used what? Power. और यही एरियाज जो थे उनके वेल्थ का एक यूरोपियन पावर्स के पास जो वेल्थ था उसका एक सबसे बड़ा कारण था कि दे हैड कंट्रोल ओवर दीज थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज, दैट इज एशिया, अफ्रीका एंड लैटिन अमेरिका. ठीक है, गॉट इट? थिंक ऑफ व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू रिलेट कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में द ऑब्जेक्टिव इज ऑलवेज नेशनल इंटरेस्ट. इंडिया कोई भी इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस का बात करता है, इट्स ऑब्जेक्टिव इज इंडिया, इट्स ऑब्जेक्टिव विल नेवर बी पाकिस्तान और एनी अदर थिंग. Its objective is always India. But for achieving that objective, it has to control over the other country. Other country को control करने के लिए it has to use what? Power. ठीक है? Got it? Then fourth point, conflict as the condition of international relations. Conflict as the condition of international relations. हमने पहले बोला नेशनल इंटरेस्ट. उस नेशनल इंटरेस्ट को हासिल करने के लिए वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द मीन्स एज पावर. So everybody is trying to become what? Powerful. How can they become powerful? Through conflicts and wars. So the national interest of various nations, they are either fully compatible or fully incompatible. ठीक है, तो हम बोल सकते हैं कि कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इज वन ऑफ द कंडीशंस और कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इज वन ऑफ द रिजल्ट्स ऑफ इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस. ठीक है, और नेचर में एक और चीज हम कह सकते हैं कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस, फिफ्थ पॉइंट, continuous interaction between nations. है ना? इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में देयर इज कंटिन्यूअस एंगेजमेंट बिटवीन द नेशंस. एंगेजमेंट कैसे हो रहा है? कंटिन्यूअस एंगेजमेंट बाय द प्रोसेस ऑफ इंटरैक्शन. तो इससे वी कैन से दैट इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस इज नथिंग एल्स बट इट इज अ प्रोसेस ऑफ इंटरैक्शंस आल्सो. और ये इंटरैक्शंस जो है वो कंटिन्यूअस हो रहा है. देन sixth part, sixth nature, and interdisciplinary subject. An interdisciplinary subject. When I say interdisciplinary subject, then We can say that international relations, it can be studied with other social sciences, just like history, economics, political science, philosophy, geography. That means they all are interconnected. तो इसीलिए ये एक interdisciplinarian subject भी है. That means when I say interdisciplinarian subject, that means when we are trying to study other disciplines of the social studies, then we find that they all are interconnected with international relations. आप देखो ना, economics is also related to international relations. History is also related to international relations. Political science is also related to international relations. Philosophy is also related to international relations. Geography is also related to international relations. So every social science is connected to international relations. So we can say that it's a multidisciplinary subject, or it's an interdisciplinary subject where the disciplines of social sciences, they are interconnected. ठीक है, got it. Seventh, we can say nature में कि no single definition, ये भी एक बहुत बड़ा चीज है कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस का आज तक कोई सिंगल डेफिनेशन नजर में नहीं आया हम लोग. ठीक है, देयर इज नो सिंगल डेफिनेशन विथ रिगार्ड टू इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस. ठीक है, सो यू कैन राइट द नेचर्स. ये सब नेचर है. और एक और चीज हम बोल सकते हैं, फॉरेन पॉलिसीज. एनी नेशंस फॉरेन पॉलिसी. ठीक है, मतलब each nation they have their own foreign policy, they formulate, they follow their own foreign policy. That means whatever is the foreign policy, it particularly defines the goals of that particular nation's national interest. Okay, what is the national interest with regard to that nation? So it is international relations which also helps in the formulation of what? Foreign policy of the nations. तो ये चीज आप लिख सकते हो. ओके, ठीक है. सो द नेचर, आपको और भी नेचर मिल सकते हैं बुक्स में. इफ यू रेफर द बुक्स यू विल गेट मोर नेचर विथ रिगार्ड टू इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस. बट जो मेरे अनुसार मेन थे, इट्स नेशंस हु आर द प्राइमरी एक्टर्स, national interest is the objective, power is seen as the means to achieve the national interest, conflict is a condition of international relations, there is continuous interactions between the nations, then it's an interdisciplinary subject, there is no single definition, and foreign policies of nations. So this is something which is with regard to the nature of international relations. Hopefully things are getting clear to you now. ठीक है, अब हमने मीनिंग कर लिया, हमने नेचर भी कर लिया. अब हमें क्या करना है? वी हैव टू डू द स्कोप. So let's talk about the scope of international relations. So when I talk about the scope of international relations, once again nature से ही निकल के आएगा scope भी. The first scope is, first point nature का क्या था? Nations are the primary actors of international relations. Am I right? तो पहला scope will be what? Study of nation states study of nation states, or you can call it as nation state system. Study of nation states, or you can call it as nation state system. ठीक है, इसका मतलब when we talk about the scope of international relations, in international relations the primary actors are the nation states. So we study nation states and nation state systems in international relations. Second is national interest. देखो वहीं से आ रहा है सारी बातें. Second is national interest. National interest is what? It is the interest of each nation. That means the objective of each nation is its national interest. And every nation, they try to secure this national interest during the course of its relation with other nations. Matlab, as the nations are having relations with other nations, then during this course of relations with other nations, each nation, they try to secure their national interest. So national interest, it is the objective of the, you can say, international of the nations. Then third one, अब इस national interest को कैसे achieve करोगे? The means is what? National power. That means every nation, they want to become powerful. Why they want to become powerful? Because they have to secure their national interest. So the core concept, we can say, with regard to international relations, it's nothing else but it is national power. ठीक है, नेशनल पावर जो है वो कोर कॉन्सेप्ट है. बिकॉज अगर नेशनल पावर ही नहीं रहेगा, देन द ऑब्जेक्टिव विल नॉट बी अचीव्ड, और ऑब्जेक्टिव नहीं अचीव होगा तो नेशन स्टेट भी नहीं आएगा. सो द कोर कॉन्सेप्ट to the study of international relation is national power, and these nations, they are actors and they act according to their national power. मतलब ये लोग actors हैं, and these actors, they act according to their national power. जैसे उसका पावर रहेगा वैसे वो एक्ट करेगा. ठीक है, if it has a lot power, then it will be acting as the matlab hegemon in this world, in this entire this system. But अगर वो एक बहुत weaker country है, उसके पास ज्यादा national power नहीं है, तो it will be a dependent state. ठीक है, तो इस तरीके से national power is one of the very important things. Then comes the scope, study of foreign policy. मैंने आपको बताया था इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस जो है वो फॉरेन पॉलिसी, एक देश का क्या फॉरेन पॉलिसी रहेगा. मतलब when it comes to the formulation and when it comes to the following of the foreign policy, international relations plays a very important role. So we can say that the behavior of each state, matlab whatever is the behavior of each state when it comes to international relations, it's always directed and controlled by its foreign policy. बहुत important line है कि the behavior, you can write it down, the behavior of each state is always controlled and directed by its foreign policy. ठीक है, और this is the core to the study of IR. Objective of each nation. ठीक है, so we can say that the behavior of each state, it is always controlled and directed by its foreign policy. So when we study the foreign policy of various nations, we can explain the nature of international relations among them. है ना, कि just studying the foreign policy of various nations, we can come to a conclusion what is the international relations or what is the interactions between the nations, कि किस टाइप का इंटरैक्शन है नेशंस के बीच में. ठीक है, गॉट इट. लिख लो. फिफ्थ, study of regional organizations and international organizations. हमें पता है कि in international relations we do study international organizations like United Nations. ये एक international organization है जिसके बारे में we study in international relations, as well as we study about subnational entities. Subnational entities are the regional organizations like ASEAN, that means all the countries of East Asia, they have come together and they have formed this ASEAN regional cooperation. In the same way, SAARC, India and its neighbors all have come together. The eight countries, they have come together and they have formed the SAARC. European Union. So these are the regional organizations which are playing a very important role. That means international relations also studies about international organizations. It also studies about regional organizations. Apart from that, it also studies about the trading groups, the various power blocks like NATO and all. ये भी तो international relations में पढ़ा जाता है. ठीक है, so this is also one of the scope of international relations. You can write it down. ठीक है, then sixth part, we can say that economic instruments. देखो, we can say that international relations also talks about the economic instruments which guides relationship between nations. मतलब nations have trading relations also. Economic interest भी होता है nations का. Now with regard to that economic interest, international relations are also, you can say, formed, और जो भी international relations है वो होता है. So we can say that economic instruments, they play a very important role when it comes to influencing the course of relations between the nations. मतलब nations के बीच में क्या relations रहेगा? What will be the course of relation between the nations, whether politically, whether economically and all? It is also determined by the economic instruments. So we can say that when I said you the nature की interdisciplinary है, तो उसी से हमें पता चलता है कि economic instruments also are one of the key instruments with regard to international relations. ठीक है. इसके अलावा seventh I can say non-state actors. Non-state actors वो होते हैं upon which the government doesn't have any control. They can be individuals, they can be organizations upon which the government doesn't have any control. And it can be the multinational companies, it can be the NGOs and all. तो ये जो international relations है, मतलब we have seen that there is a rise of non-state actors. मतलब पूरे international environment में, पूरे world में, you can see that there is a rise of non-state actors. And these non-state actors, because now they are on a rise, so now we are compelled to study about these non-state actors in terms of international system. जैसे एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे, what is the role of MNCs? Now what is the role of MNCs? अब MNC का रोल क्या है? The primary role is nothing else but it is foreign direct investments. So this MNC, it's a non-state actor. And MNC as a non-state actor, it has gained influence all over the world. The multinational companies. Now these multinational companies, now they are also influencing international politics. So when they are influencing international politics, then we should also try to study their role. That means the role of these non-state actors, we should try to study with respect to international system. समझ में आ गया? So it's not only the state actors who are playing a very important role. The non-state actors have also come into existence. और present 21st century में non-state actors बहुत important है. Why? Because of the globalization which has taken place. Because of the privatization which has taken place in most of the countries of the world. आप खुद देखो, in India, after the liberalization, privatization and globalization policy of 1990, don't you feel that our foreign policy, our international relations policy, it is also, matlab in it, we have also, but we also take into mind the non-state actors, the international non-state actors. That's why we have made our labor laws flexible. Because MNC तभी आएगा जब labor laws आपका flexible होगा. बात समझ रहे हैं कि before 1990 the labor laws were very rigid, but now the labor laws have become flexible. So our international relations, our domestic policies, they are also being influenced by these non-state actors. And these non-state actors, they are not only domestic non-state actors, but they are international non-state actors also. So when we are trying to study international system, So we should also include the study of non-state actors, because in recent times the non-state actors, they have increased in number, they have increased in their importance. So we have to study international system including the non-state actors in it. ठीक है, so non-state actors भी इसके स्कोप में आ जाते हैं. ठीक है, क्लियर है. एंड 8th point मैं यहां लिख रहा हूं, प्लीज डोंट गेट कंफ्यूज्ड. 8th point is war and peace. That means international relations is not only discussion about cooperation and about friendship and all. International relations, it's not free from the discussion with regard to, you can say, how to save mankind from war. ठीक है, right from the Second World War afterwards, we have seen that there was Cold War. Now, when there was Cold War, wasn't it a part of that international relations? So international relations, it also includes the discussion with regard to saving mankind from wars. So when we are discussing with regard to saving mankind from wars, it means we are discussing about both two opposite things of the same coin, that is conflict as well as peace. That means we are discussing about the wars, we are discussing about its reasons, and we are also discussing about how to end that war and how to establish peace. तो बोला जाता है कि जैसे there are regions, ये जो regional organization बनता है, why has this been created? Why has this been established? It has been established because there is regional cooperation, and very importantly, there is regional security. ठीक है, तो बोला जाता है there are large powers, there are regional powers who often exchange their views, and they create an atmosphere with regard to peace and security. Then international relations also talks about the study of disarmament. The study of disarmament. Disarmament in the sense, it's also talk, मतलब जब हम war and peace की बात कर रहे हैं, तो war is why, मतलब every country is trying to have power. So for power they are having weapons of mass destruction. So on the other hand, international organizations like UN, they are talking about what? They are talking about disarmament. So in international relations, this disarmament is also studied upon. And one more thing I can add it's diplomacy. International relations में diplomacy is also one of the most important things which we study. So when we come with the scope, इसका scope near about 10 मैंने आपको बता दिया. ठीक है, clear है? So 10 scope with regard to international relations. ठीक है, so we have done this entire part with regard to international relations. मतलब I'm sorry to say that we have not completed the entire part. मतलब entire unit हमने complete नहीं किया. We have just started with it. अब हम approaches की तरफ जा सकते हैं. That means now we can move towards the approaches. Chalo, not to write anything. Tomorrow we'll start with that. But tomorrow's topic, I'll tell you, we'll be discussing about realism. हम लोग रियलिज्म को डिस्कस करेंगे और इस रियलिज्म में हम लोग अलग अलग टाइप के रियलिज्म को भी डिस्कस करेंगे, वेदर इट इज क्लासिकल रियलिज्म, वेदर इट इज नियो रियलिज्म, ठीक है, क्लासिकल रियलिज्म हो या हम लोग नियो रियलिज्म करें, मतलब ब्रांचेस जो हम बताते हैं, ठीक है. तो देर आर डिफरेंट ब्रांचेस विथ रिगार्ड टू रियलिज्म, विल डू दैट ऑल्सो, उसमें आप टेंशन मत लो. बट 1 मिनट, ओके, यस. So when we will be discussing realism, I'll be telling you about an introduction with regard to realism today. आज एक छोटा सा इंट्रोडक्शन दे देता हूं कि जो रियलिज्म अप्रोच है इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में, दिस रियलिज्म अप्रोच, इट स्ट्रेसेस, यू कैन से it stresses on competitive and competitive as well as conflicting side of international politics. मतलब conflicting as well as competing, मतलब एक दूसरे से nations compete कर रहे हैं और competition के कारण there is conflict. ठीक है. एंड हियर वी कैन से दैट नेशनल पावर, नेशनल इंटरेस्ट, दे आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. और बोला जाता है कि ये एक बेसिकली स्टेट सेंट्रिक अप्रोच है. इट्स बेसिकली अ स्टेट सेंट्रिक अप्रोच. ठीक है, क्लियर? इट्स अ स्टेट सेंट्रिक approach. Got it? ठीक है. सो जो हम अप्रोचेस करेंगे थोड़ा सा मैं बता दूं. एक तो रियलिज्म करेंगे, देन वी विल ऑल्सो डू आइडियलिज्म. आइडियलिज्म इज विथ रिगार्ड टू, यू कैन से, लिबरलिज्म. ठीक है. तो क्या क्या अप्रोचेस करेंगे वो मैं एक बार प्लीज समझा देता हूं शॉर्ट में, सो दैट फ्रॉम टुमारो वी कैन स्टार्ट. द फर्स्ट वन वी विल डू विथ रिगार्ड टू रियलिज्म. और रियलिज्म हम सबको पता है, इट्स समथिंग विच इज, जो कि हैंस मॉर्गेनथाउ, ठीक है, ये हांस मॉर्गेनथाउ इज वन ऑफ द इंपॉर्टेंट पर्संस रिलेटेड टू रियलिज्म. ठीक है. और इसमें फोकस जो है रियलिज्म में, फोकस इज ऑन पावर. ठीक है. फोकस, इट्स ऑन पावर पॉलिटिक्स एंड नेशनल इंटरेस्ट. एक ब्रीफ में बता रहा हूं, आप लोग लिखना चाहते हो आप लिख सकते हो. फोकस जो है, इट्स ऑन पावर पॉलिटिक्स एज वेल एज नेशनल इंटरेस्ट, एंड द स्टेट्स हियर, दे आर ऑलवेज कंपीटिंग. स्टेट्स जो है, दे आर द प्राइमरी एक्टर्स. सो इट्स अ स्टेट सेंट्रिक अप्रोच. It's a state-centric approach, that is, states are प्राइमरी एक्टर्स, और ये जो प्राइमरी एक्टर्स है दे आर इन कॉम्पिटिशन। ठीक है, स्टेट्स आर प्राइमरी एक्टर्स इन द इंटरनेशनल competitive in the international competitive system. I say international competitive system because for them power is the main objective. So power and national interest, so they will be competing with each other. यहां हम एग्जाम्पल दे सकते हैं कोल्ड वॉर एरा का, ठीक है, where US and USSR they were engaged in creating their own power blocks, है ना। तो वो लोग अपना नेशनल इंटरेस्ट, अपना पावर ब्लॉक्स क्रिएट कर रहा था, तो जिसके कारण स्ट्रगल हो रहा था पावर के लिए फॉर ग्लोबल इंफ्लुएंस एंड ऑल। तो ये रियलिज्म है। देन द नेक्स्ट वन इज आइडियलिज्म, और यू कैन कॉल इट एज liberalism. Now this idealism or liberalism, it's by Immanuel Kant. और यहां पे instead of power politics and national interest, their focus is on cooperation, international institutions and spread of democracy. Focus on cooperation, international institutions and spread of democracy. That means the idealist thinkers, idealism as an approach, here the main focus is not on power politics and national interests, rather they are focusing on cooperation with each other, international institutions they are talking about, and they are talking about the spread of democracy. ठीक है, सो इसका मतलब क्या हो गया? दे बिलीव in progress and prosperity of nations by peace. मतलब according to them it's peace which will lead to the progress and prosperity of the nations. ये idealism के बारे में हम लोग पढ़ेंगे. Then we will talk about social constructivism. हम लोग क्या बात करेंगे? Social constructivism. Now this social constructivism, it was given by Alexander Wendt. Alexander Wendt, V-E-N-D, T is silent. ठीक है, now in this social constructivism they are trying to talk about the social construction. That means how international relations, they are shaped by social political factors, shared norms and collective identity. That is, focus on how international relation is shaped by shared identity, socio-political factors. ठीक है, shared identity, socio-political factors या इसको शेयर्ड कलेक्टिव आइडेंटिटी, एंड शेयर्ड नॉर्म्स। ठीक है, सो दिस सोशल कंस्ट्रक्टिविज्म में हम लोग बेसिकली इसमें बात करेंगे ये सब चीजों। दैट मीन्स हियर विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट द राइज ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स, ह्यूमन राइट्स की राइज की बात करेंगे। देन वी विल ऑल्सो स्टडी अबाउट द मार्क्सिस्ट अप्रोच। मार्क्सिस्ट अप्रोच में वी ऑल नो दैट इट्स विथ रिगार्ड टू कार्ल मार्क्स। ठीक है, एंड कार्ल मार्क्स में द मेन फोकस, its focus is what? Focus is role of capitalism and imperialism. ठीक है, role of capitalism as well as imperialism. That means viewing IR with regard to economic exploitation. ठीक है, मतलब क्रिएटिंग अ क्लासलेस सोसाइटी की बात वाली बात। तो ये मार्क्सिस्ट भी हम यहां पे पढ़ेंगे। देन वी विल ऑल्सो स्टडी अबाउट फेमिनिस्ट या फेमिनिज्म अप्रोच के बारे में भी पढ़ेंगे। यहां पे सिंथिया इनोले, now here the focus is gender involvement in IR, मतलब वुमेन का इन्वॉल्वमेंट। ठीक है, ये सब चीज हम लोग पढ़ेंगे। देन विल ऑल्सो टॉक अबाउट नियो रियलिज्म। जब रियलिज्म पढ़ेंगे तो उसी में हम लोग नियो रियलिज्म भी पढ़ेंगे। दिस नियो रियलिज्म इज ऑल्सो रेफर्ड एज स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म। ठीक है, और इस नियो रियलिज्म में विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट केनेथ वॉल्ट्स। ठीक है, केनेथ वॉल्ट्स के बारे में बात करेंगे। यहां पे फोकस रहेगा ऑन द एनार्किक स्ट्रक्चर। एनार्किक कब होता है? एनार्किक व्हेन देयर इज नो सेंट्रल पावर। द फोकस विल बी ऑन द एनार्किक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ IR। एनार्किक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ IR। ठीक है, सो नियो रियलिज्म या स्ट्रक्चरलिज्म में वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट द एनार्किक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ IR एंड हाउ दिस एनार्किक स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ IR इज गोइंग टू इन्फ्लुएंस द स्टेट बिहेवियर। ठीक है, एंड हियर द एम्फेसिस विल बी ऑन बैलेंस ऑफ पावर। ठीक है, हम बैलेंस ऑफ पावर की बात करेंगे। देन ऑल्सो पोस्ट कॉलोनियलिज्म वाली भी बात करेंगे। एडवर्ड सेड, पोस्ट कॉलोनियलिज्म, दिस इज बाय एडवर्ड सेड। पोस्ट कॉलोनियलिज्म, दैट मीन्स आफ्टर द सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर। दैट मीन्स what is the impact of colonialism on international relations? कैसे international relations को ये impact किया? Then how we are going to focus the cultural domination with regard to this and all. तो ये वो भी है। देन नियोलिबरलिज्म भी हम लोग पढ़ेंगे. नियोलिबरलिज्म में हम लोग बात करेंगे. इट्स सिमिलर टू लिबरलिज्म ऑल्सो, बट हियर we'll be talking about NGOs and WTO and all. मतलब here neoliberalism में more emphasis to international institutions. और रॉबर्ट कोहेन ने ये वाला बात कहा था. ठीक है. सो टुमारो वी आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट विद व्हाट? रियलिज्म. और ये सब चीज मैंने आपको इन थोड़ा सा, नॉट इन डिटेल बट थोड़ा सा आपको एक क्या बोलते हैं, छोटा सा जानकारी दिया. सो मीट यू टुमारो. होपफुली दिस क्लास, द डिस्कशन विच वी हैड, it was all clear, loud and clear to you all. And please, today your task is that you have to go and you have to read it from any of the book which you have with you, and whatever left part is there, you have to write it down also. And tomorrow we are coming up with realism, so have a look at what is that realism all about, so that things will be more easy to be clear from your side. Thank you all for joining with me today. Thank you all from Drishti Learning app also. And meet you tomorrow. Have a nice day, and please don't forget that you have to write things down. If it is not complete, go with the recorded version and do write it down. Thank you.